YouTube channel, of course, across other social media as well. We have Facebook and our Twitter audience out there. We welcome you to our show. A lot of free picks on the show today. As we know, no live action, primetime action tonight because the World Series concluded, but we'll have a lot of football picks for you guys looking into the future on games. We'll have some, also take a look at the Europa League action as well. So we'll feel free to chime in our chat room here, guys, and go ahead and give us some questions or some opinions, and we'll share them with the show. And of course, let's take a look here at our pick dogs for today. We'll start off with Joe Duffy. And of course, Elinos, your boys got it in finally. How your Dodgers come in? What a year for 2020 for LA sports. Dodgers and, of course, the Lakers that bring it home. Of course, Rod Zawacki, who would like the Dodgers to start the World Series. And Chris Ruffalo will be my co-host, and we'll bring in Chris right now. Chris, how are things going? And, of course, the Dodgers, they get it done. Thank goodness they did for their sake because Turner with that COVID.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's 2020, and I keep saying, it's the world we're living in right now, and now, the world shifts from looking at the Dodgers as the champions to now zoning in on, Tampa Bay. Did Kevin Cash make the right decision? And on the flip side, what exactly was Justin Turner necessarily doing back out on the field? But it's the multitude of questions that are going to have to be answered over the offseason going into next year.
Yeah, no question about that going into next year. I'm looking at probably a game suspension. I would think 10, 25. I mean, I think they take this stuff pretty seriously, right?
Can we equivalent? Like, can we make that the equivalent of maybe getting ejected by an umpire and then coming back out onto the field? Because it's almost the same thing. I mean, you have the league pulling Justin Turner to say, oh, you have a virus that's we're in a worldwide pandemic. And, we're pulling you off the field for the safety of everyone involved. I know you want a league championship, but, you can't go back out there. And, he just went back out there. It's almost like there was no disregard. I'm sure the team wanted him out there. But, again, at the same time, you got to kind of do it for the safety of everyone.
Absolutely. Of course, so we're working the effort to get to Chris's
Tony,
internet.
like you said, any repercussions.
No question about that. And your thoughts here on this Wisconsin Badgers program that got hit with COVID? They were looking maybe at a 4-string quarterback. Now they've locked the program down for 7 days. They're not going to make up these games. And now you got to wonder if there's going to be 2 or 3 games missed. Maybe who knows what's going to happen here. If some of these players may want to opt out, retain the, see how it goes with their eligibility. That's a big mess there for Wisconsin and the Big Ten.
Well, for sure. I mean, let's just get the formalities out of the way. That was definitely a game that Wisconsin was probably going to win, just for the sake of an argument. But looking at the grand scheme of things, I mean, this is still a program that's going to have to shut it down, like you said, for 7 days. They canceled the game; they're not even going to make it up. So that kind of tells you where the time frame is at in terms of where the Big Ten actually has their time constraints in terms of how many games they're going to try to get in, the possibility of any makeup weeks, because you'd think that if there were really that many makeup weeks for Wisconsin to make up this game, they wouldn't have canceled it. They would have just postponed it. But, the fact that they canceled it kind of speaks volumes as to, how much of a time crunch the Big Ten's actually in from all the time that they missed.
Yeah, no doubt about that, guys. You're going to have to really follow them. We'll follow the news for you guys and see some of these players that they decide to redshirt. There's going to be a lot of concerns here whether or not they want to lose a year of eligibility over this stuff. And some of them may just want to just go ahead and opt out the season and get ready for the NFL draft. So a lot going on here, of course, with this situation in the Big Ten. All right, continue here on the drive-through, guys. We'll take it to the top of the hour. A lot of picks coming in. We've got some NFL college football picks, but let's go ahead and welcome to the show Joe Duffy. You'll find him over at Pig Dogs Premium. Of course, Joe's been a fixture in the sports handicapping industry for several years now. And Joe, how are things going? I know in all the years you've been in this, with almost 4 decades, I don't think you have gone through a year like this.
Yeah, full-time since 1988, and I actually started working for Dial Sports when I was in college in 1986. No, it's really just not just sports, but, of course, the world situation. I was walking my dog last night and was talking to one of my neighbors, and I was saying, I remember when I thought that 9/11 was going to be the defining moment of my lifetime and the worst moment of my lifetime, and I hope that he and I are around in 2040 to talk back about 2020, and hopefully nothing like this will happen in between then. But yeah, the entire world is affected by it, and as you guys were just talking about, certainly the whole Big Ten with the shortened season already. I don't even know if it's possible that they might have, the Big Ten and the Pac-12 play some type of play-in game, or whatever. They probably shouldn't leave any option. They probably shouldn't take any options off of the table. But it's so incredibly crazy, and it does seem like an out-of-body experience at times when I overanalyze this.
No doubt about that. Of course, you're a database handicapper. Look at a lot of computer data. What do you make of the data? Not just for football, but Major League Baseball. You're looking at the NBA. How are you going to factor all this data moving forward?
Well, there's no question. Oh, we can exclude if I want to. It's quite possible to exclude periods or years. I could say, wait a minute, anything that happened in 2020 is irrelevant. It's very easy to go through manually each system and exclude that data. But I take it into consideration. Even the game we're talking about today, the system, you could say that because home field advantage isn't quite as big as it is, you got to take that into consideration when evaluating the system. Then I'll talk about in a couple of minutes. But no, all in all, I'm not going to eliminate 2020. I don't think from any of my databases, but you can display the games and see how the recent streaks are. And I will take that into consideration when I actually display the games. Like, all right, maybe I can weigh what happened in 2020 a little bit less if 2020 looks like it was an outlier. If a winning system had a really bad year in 2020, I will definitely take that into consideration.
All right, Joe Duffy joined us here on the drive-through. We're going to take a look at this NFL game for Sunday. It's AFC East. Patriots at the Bills. Bills sitting about a 4 to 3.5 point favorite. Total sits here at 43 to 42. It's, of course, early in the week, so we're going to see a lot of variance in the line here, Joe. But we know the issues here with the Patriots. The quarterback play, Cam Newton, not as accurate as we'd like to see him. Buffalo, well, Allen has kind of digressed a little bit, so kind of a head-scratcher here. But how do you see this one?
Yeah, and Cam Newton, again, I don't play fantasy football, but Cam Newton's having kind of the year that I thought he would. I thought that, he would have a honeymoon period, he'd play well, and if you had Cam Newton, maybe trade him after a few games because his value would be high. In this game, though, I am going to go with Cam Newton plus the 3.5. I do like the fact that he really manned up after the game. He said he had no issues with it, that he realizes that his job is in jeopardy, and I think that is a very positive sign. Cam definitely fits into what I like to say the predictably unpredictable quarterbacks. He's one of those guys, the fact that he's off such an atrocious game, I expect him to bounce back. That's why Cam will likely always have a starting job somewhere. It is possible by his own admission. Maybe he'll be benched before the year's out, but somewhere next year, whether it's in New England or elsewhere, he'll still be battling for a starting spot because he does have this enormous talent. Buffalo's 5-2 straight up. New England's 2-4 straight up. So the mere straight up records would indicate that Buffalo is far and away the superior team. But Buffalo is only laying 3.5 here. Now, again, as I alluded to with your previous question, Tony T, home field advantage this year isn't worth 3 points. It's worth more like 2 points, but still, the line is kind of counterintuitive to the straight-up records. And I've said time and time again, straight-up records are very deceptive. So listen to what the odds makers are telling you. The system that essentially says when you have a team with a substantially worse straight-up record and they're a road team and they're not getting more than 4 points, they're 142, 81, and 7, including 65.5% if not getting more than 3.5. Now, again, you could say the reason they're only getting 3.5 is because there's not a full home field advantage, but still, again, use the odds makers' knowledge against them. This line is very counterintuitive based purely on those straight-up records. I am not sold on Josh Allen. Coming out of college, I've always said the most underrated ability a quarterback can have is his efficiency, completing the routine passes. The fact that Josh Allen was yet another one of these strong-arm quarterbacks who had struggled with his accuracy, but scouts always say, all right, we'll draft him and we can coach him up. And Allen does have 3 games this year where he completed more than 70% of his passes, but they were all in the first 4 games. He almost did that last week, but it was against the Jets. So he's got 3 interceptions in his last 3 games after only 1 in his first 4. You got to prove it to me. Yeah, after 4 games, he was arguably the league's MVP, but I'm just not a big Josh Allen guy. I think he is the one who is regressing to the mean. I'm not a huge Cam Newton guy. Since he that MVP season, he's been a mediocre quarterback, but I do think the fact that Cam's off an atrocious game, he's going to bounce back. It's just amazing how, these predictably unpredictable quarterbacks like Cam do that. And keep in mind, Buffalo, their wins this year, 2 of them to the Jets, 1 to Miami. I think they are a little bit of a paper tiger. I'm not in love with Bill Belichick. Bill, without Tom Brady as a starting quarterback, I think is 20-24 straight up, but that doesn't mean I think he's an idiot either. He's been in this game a long time. I think he'll look at those mistakes that Allen's been making. I think he'll come up with some schemes, and I look for Josh Allen to have a very rough Sunday.
All right, Joe Duffy likes the taking the points here with the Patriots. Chris, how do you look at this one here? Of course, the Buffalo, we know they have issues here with their defense defending the pass. Patriots have had issues here with securing the football. But again, as Joe said, look for a bounce back here. How do you see it?
Well, I said it yesterday, being a Patriots fan, this game still makes me nervous. And, I've said this before, is that New England's just a team that you don't expect to see in this situation. We've kind of been spoiled as with all the success over the years past. But you look at this season, the last 3 games, Buffalo started out slow, against the Jets, against the Chiefs, and against the Titans. All those games, they started out slow. They came out and they weren't firing on all cylinders. I probably expect a little bit of the same here. The key for New England in this one, though, is going to be starting on the right foot, making sure that they don't fall behind early. Josh McDaniels has this playbook lined up for Cam Newton, and if you see New England get out in front early, it keeps the playbook open. It keeps it, more open so that Cam can use his feet. If you start getting behind and New England has to start throwing the ball, well, that starts playing to Cam Newton's weakness, which we've already discussed, is him using his arm. So, I think the key for New England in this one is going to be, keeping ahead of the Bills, which obviously should be the game plan from the beginning. But, I think Joe's right on with this one. I think New England can at least keep this one within a field goal. I'm starting to think they can win it outright, just based on how Buffalo's been playing lately. And I also think they're a paper 4-2. But again, we'll see come Sunday.
All right, Joe Duffy here on the Patriots plus 3.5 against the Buffalo Bills. All right, Joe, as we hit the quarter off to the hour here, why don't you let everybody know what you have going on at Pig Dogs Premium, looking for a big weekend of football?
Yeah, thank goodness. Like I said, all we gamblers are superstitious, and for a while I thought, look, 2020, I'm just completely jinxed. I had an outlier year, finally turning it around. We've hit in just the past couple weeks our NFL Game of the Year on Detroit 2 weeks ago, had our SEC Game of the Year on Mizzou outright. We had our college football total of the year on the TCU game under the total. We're finally back in the right direction. Again, was working, completing the card as we speak, but it looks like I should have an SEC divisional game of the year as well as an AAC, not ACC, but the AAC game of the year. Hint, they're both based on a system you and I have won with for many, many years. If you've been with me for a few years, this is a system we've won with many, many times. Big NFL weekend as well. We finally really turned it around in the NFL, so a humongous weekend is in store with Joe Duffy's picks.
That's right, guys. Check out Joe Duffy over at Pig Dogs Premium. Why not pick up one of those long-term packages? 7 days or a 30-day pass right there is the best way to go. Get all of Joe's plays for 30 days that he releases at Pig Dogs, including his NFL, also into college football, so check him out there on the website. All right, Joe, as always, great having your show. Have a great night, and we will talk to you end of the week.
All right, gentlemen, we shall talk in 2 days.
All right, everybody. Joe Duffy here on the drive-thru. I continue here with Chris as we'll take you up to the top of the hour, and a lot more picks coming up. We got a lot of college football, NFL to get to you here, so we'll continue the show. And it's time for some a look here at college football. Notre Dame and Georgia Tech here. Notre Dame traveling here, favored by 20, total 57. Chris, of course, Notre Dame, as we talked earlier this week, off to a fantastic start. If they give up 13 points or fewer, in 4 of their past 5, coming off a huge win against Pittsburgh. Of course, Georgia Tech here, they're having some issues defensively, giving up almost 200 yards a game, but it's a big line here for Notre Dame to cover.
No, for sure. And this game, I think for me, is all about going to be how motivated Notre Dame is going to be. We were waiting for Notre Dame to show up, in the last few weeks. And what do? They come out and absolutely deck Pittsburgh 45-3. And, and the Notre Dame defense was just fantastic in that game. On the other hand, you look at Georgia Tech, a team that looked good early on, picking up that upset win over Florida State to start the year, and thought maybe that's a sign of things to come with Georgia Tech. The offense can turn around under Jeff Collins. Maybe it's a turning point for this program. And then, they lose, substantially week after week after week. And this past week, it was, 49-27 loss to Boston College of all teams. And now, I'm leaning towards Notre Dame covering this one big in blowout fashion, kind of like they did against Pitt. But again, you kind of wonder how motivated the Notre Dame is really for this game, if they're going to be up for this one. You also got to remember they've got Clemson on deck the week after. So, again, it's just a bit of a look-ahead spot. It has look-ahead written all over it. But again, I think Notre Dame's going to want to go into that game with as much momentum as possible. I think they're going to use Georgia Tech as a bit of a statement game. So I'm leaning towards laying the points with the Irish in this one.
Yeah, I can't argue that they're laying the points here with the Irish here as facing Georgia Tech, a team that has really struggled on the defensive side of the football. All right, guys, as we continue here on the drive-through, still a lot more picks coming up. And, of course, we'll bring in our next guest, and you can listen to him along with Chris on the morning show with Mitch and company, 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. It's Rod Zawacki. Rod, how are things going? Of course, you were on the Dodgers to start the World Series, and, of course, L.A. Gets it done.
They did. They got it done in 6. Well, I know we were all hoping to see a Game 7 today, but it didn't quite get there. I still think they took Snell out a little too early.
Yeah.
He was pitching and rolling, and why yank him?
Yeah, I mean that pretty much is what the way these managers are now. I mean, it's the Moneyball situation. Chris. These guys have been told how to manage teams in the situations. They got to play 100% to what the upper management wants, right? I mean, that's the way it is today.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you kind of got to follow your marching orders, and whether or not that those were Kevin Cash's orders, and that was the game plan to sort of have Snell in for 5, however many innings, whether it be 5 or up to 6. That's the way the cookie crumbled, and you could tell from Snell's reaction he didn't want to leave that game. And I think no professional wants to get that hook, but again, it was part of the game plan, and unfortunately for Tampa Bay, the game plan backfired.
Yeah, no doubt about that. All right, here on the drive-through, we're joined by Rod Zawacki. The play, Rod, you're going to be looking at is NFL, the Thursday night game. We're going to look at this one between Atlanta and Carolina. With Carolina sitting around 2.5, total sits here about 51.5. Of course, Carolina surprising many with where they're playing. Even without McCaffrey in the lineup, they're able to make things happen offensively. And of course, Atlanta, a team that's one of those all offense, no defense teams. But how do you see this one?
For me, I'm looking at this one. The forecast is it's supposed to be 100% rainy. It's going to be windy. 11-mile-an-hour wind blowing in there in Carolina. And then when I go down and I dig in the numbers, Atlanta's rush defense, it actually is not that bad. It's their defense against the pass. They're averaging, allowing 333 yards a game against the pass, which ranks them 31st. That's their defense's biggest issue there. But they've been stopping the run, holding teams to an average of 29.6 points a game. I look at Carolina's offense, and they're only scoring 23 points a game. Atlanta's offense, I give them the little bit of a better edge over Carolina here, and they're averaging 26.3 points a game. These two teams just played a couple weeks ago, and the final score in that one was 23-16 for the Panthers. And for me, and then I go digging in the numbers head to head, and I look and I see the last 17 games in Carolina, 12-3-2 to the under. The last 15 meetings between these two teams is 11-3-1 to the under. And the weather's not going to be very good there. It's going to be windy. I'm going to take the under. Give me the under 51.5 here.
All right, Rod Zawacki says take Atlanta Falcons and Carolina Panthers go under the total. Of course, Chris, we could be looking at some bad weather. We're getting into the end of October here, so keep an eye on the weather. And one thing he mentioned here was the Carolina's, the running game here for both teams. And how do you see this one here? As he forecast the under, of course, Atlanta less than 4 yards to carry on the ground. Carolina just barely over 4.
No, for sure. I think this could be a game where we do see a lot of running. And I mean, the passing game hasn't worked for the Falcons so far this season. And, just when you think that the Falcons are going to put up enough points to score, you have a game that happens like Detroit where all of a sudden, like we said, Todd Gurley decided he can't put on the brakes fast enough to get into the end zone. And then Detroit marches down the field and scores. So, I do think that this is going to be a tight game. I think it's going to finish just under the number. If it stays at 51.5, I had this one around 51. You look, these two teams have played combined 7 games with a total over 50 this year, and 5 of them have gone under. So I definitely think that the under 51.5 is a viable option. Like I said, I think this one could finish around 27-24, a tight game. But again, these Thursday night games have always been sloppy. So I definitely think that the under is going to be something to keep an eye on here.
All right, Chris agreed here with the under the 51.5 here on this Thursday game between Atlanta Falcons and the Carolina Panthers. All right, Rod, as we approach the bottom of the hour here, why don't you let everybody know what you have going on over at Pig Dogs Premium?
Well, tonight I'll be loading in tomorrow's football, Thursday's football, loving Friday's football, and the weekend cup. One of those 3-day passes going to have a huge weekend in football, or grab a 7-day. Sports are not going to stop for us here. We're going to keep finding new winners.
That's right. Sports will not stop. So check out Chris Ruffalo, or here Rod Zawacki's plays over at Pig Dogs Premium. Long-term pass, 7-day or 30-day. A 30-day all sports pass will get you all of Rod's plays from the NFL, college football for 30 days. As we're going to see action from the Pac-12, the MAC conference. So we'll have some more midday action, Fridays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays action coming up here. So guys, so pick them up right now at Pig Dogs Premium, Rod Zawacki's Premium Plays. All right, Rod, as always, great having you on the show. Have yourself a great night, and we'll talk with you tomorrow.
Great to be here. You and Chris have yourself a wonderful evening.
Yeah, and don't forget after we recap the plays, you'll find a little surprise from Chris. So we'll find surprise from Rod up there on the screen as we recap the plays.
Yep, that'll probably be a little something if you tune in and keep your eyes open. I'm sure there'll be something there for you.
All right, guys, so check him out. Rod Zawacki at the end of the show. We recap all the plays, guys, so be sure to tune in for that. All right, continue here on the drive-thru. As I said, we'll take it at the top of the hour. Still a lot more picks coming. A lot of college football, NFL plays coming your way. And we got another one here to look at with Chris as TCU and Baylor. We'll get it off here with TCU on the road. They're the road favorites, 2.5. Total sits here at 48. And this Baylor team, they lost 2 of 3 to start the season. They really struggled offensively with the yardage. The run game's just 3 yards a carry, but TCU get probably a little better quarterback play here from Max Duggan. How do you see this one?
Yeah, this has been a frustrating Baylor team to say the least this year. I mean, I came into this one thinking, under Dave Aranda, fresh off that national championship game victory, he was going to help lead Baylor, with that defense, and Charlie Brewer, he was going to be able to lead the offense. And for whatever reason, Baylor just hasn't been able to execute at full strength this year. And TCU, Max Duggan's only been able to do so much, but the problem is they've only really, shown up offensively in that game against Texas, that 33-31 upset earlier this year. This game for me is a tough one to call for the side. I mean, it could genuinely go either way. Part of me thinks, maybe TCU's favored on the road for a reason. Baylor's getting points at home. It's like a home dog. At the end of the day, I think I see this one being a total, inside the 20s for a good chunk of it. I think I'm going to, lean toward.
All right, Chris, I think we lost a little bit there for you. Can you repeat that?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I think it's just going to be a war. I think it's going to be a battle between the 20s, and I think for me, my strongest play is going to be the under in this one.
All right, Christopher Lowe says still ahead and take the under. I'm kind of leaning the road favorite in this one. It's still a lot more to look in that game. I just think the quarterback plays a little different there, but a little better on the TCU side. But it's always tricky laying those points on the road.
Absolutely.
All right, continue here on the drive-through. That was our look here at Baylor against the TCU Horned Frogs. All right, continue on here on the drive-through. We've got Chris Ruffalo's show pick. It'll be Penn State and Ohio State. And right now we take a look at this line. Two ranked teams competing. Ohio State favored on the road by 12 and a half in some places. Total sits about 63. Of course, Ohio State coming off that pounding of Nebraska. Then Penn State almost doubled the yardage on Indiana and still come away with a loss here, 36-35. Of course, that 2-point conversion was the difference for Indiana getting the win here. But how do you see this one?
Well, I mean, this is one of the ones that I kind of had circled because Ohio State, Penn State, it's a game that you expect to see later in the year. But Mitch and I talked when we were doing our videos. This is kind of, that point in the season as to where this game would probably be. And, Ohio State absolutely crushed, I think it was Nebraska in their first game. It was 52-17. And, Justin Fields looked like he picked up right where he left off. And I do think Ohio State should be favored here. The problem is that Penn State's still, a very good team. They're well coached under James Franklin, who's covered in each of the last 4 meetings against Ohio State. Penn State's got Sean Clifford. He's still an experienced quarterback. He can be iffy from time to time from throwing the football. But again, Penn State gets up for this game. The last 4 meetings all decided by 11 points or less. The 3 meetings before last year's, the games were all decided by a combined 5 points. So this is a game that I do think that Penn State's going to get up for. That Ohio State's going to give the Nittany Lions all they can handle. But I expect Penn State to cover in this one. So I think there's a little bit of this line's a bit of a slap in the face for Penn State, and I think they're going to come out and give Ohio State a war here. So I'm going to take Penn State in the points. Chris
Ruffalo says go ahead and take Penn State and the points in this one. And the defense. And they didn't give it much yardage. I mean, you expect to see maybe 450, 500 yards, and you see only 211 allowed. And you scratch your head and say, how did that happen? But, of course, Ohio State and Nebraska. What do you take from the Nebraska game? That Cornhuskers result was really disappointing on that Cornhusker side.
The only thing I really take from it is that Nebraska is the same team that they were last season. Adrian Martinez, for whatever reason, struggles to make good decisions with the football and take care of the football, and that maybe, just maybe, Scott Frost is kind of regretting that decision to sort of leave UCF a couple years ago. Yes, he wanted a big time, a big program, a big Power 5 job, but again, you had it good at UCF. You had a perennial, New Year's Six team, and unfortunately, you left it behind for the greener pastures of Lincoln, Nebraska. But again, hindsight being 2020, it seemed like a good decision at the time in his coaching pedigree. Maybe he could have turned that program around, but it just doesn't seem like that's where the program is. And maybe next year when they get a new quarterback in to sort of replace Adrian Martinez, maybe that'll be sort of the linchpin to sort of start the transition for Nebraska.
You see that there, Chris's pick, take Penn State plus the 12 against Ohio State. All right, Chris, as we've reached the bottom of the hour, why don't you let everybody know what you have going on over at Pig Dogs Premium?
So for tomorrow, I'm going to have my 3 football plays lined up. We're going to have some for the NFL and college. I'm going to take a look at the Europa League games tonight, maybe have a package up there as well. We had another winning day in the Champions League today, finished up almost around plus 200 units. So, we're gonna keep building on soccer. And, again, we keep saying it, get those longer term packages because those are going to be your best value. And, starting next week, we're going to have football 6 days a week. We're going to have the MAC on Wednesdays. And from, again, what I'm hearing is the MAC is probably going to go Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So there's going to be football 7 days a week. So you're going to get your money's worth. You're going to get value every single day. And, that's going to be the best day. And we're going to put you on some winners. So definitely check those out as well.
That's right, guys. So check out Chris Ruffalo over at Pig Dogs Premium. Pick up one of those long-term passes, 7 day, or even that 30 day. You get all of Chris's plays. NFL, college football, of course, and his soccer plays, Premier League. Of course, we get into international play as well. So check him out over at Pig Dogs Premium. All right, continuing on our show here, Tony T is joined by Chris. We have a lot more to cover on our show, a lot more picks coming up. Let's take a look at this Big 12 game. as we got Texas and Oklahoma State doing battle here with the Longhorns underdogs. Wow, that's when Herman's an underdog. People like to hear that. Oklahoma State here laying 3.5. Total sits here at 58. And of course, the Longhorns, they've covered 11 of 17 in an underdog role, but this will be the strongest offense that Oklahoma State has faced. Of course, senior quarterback Sam Ehlinger here for the Longhorns, averaging 17 touchdowns, 5 picks, with averaging 8 yards per pass attempt. So how do you see this one?
Again, Texas, I think the Big 12, for me, there's been your good teams and your teams that, are frustrating that you thought were going to be good, and then the outright bad teams like Kansas. Texas is with Oklahoma and those teams I thought were obviously going to be good that have just been frustrating to watch. 1-3-1 against the spread this year and 0-3-1 in their last 4 games overall. And, it's just been, Sam Ehlinger is, the guy that was born to be a Texas quarterback, we always say, but the results for whatever reason just haven't been there for Texas, even though he's been the key cog in that offense. And, the receivers, he's getting the ball downfield to him, but, the defense isn't doing their job. And, Oklahoma State's going to be the toughest defense that Texas has faced so far this year. And granted, on the other side, Texas is probably going to be the best offense that Oklahoma State's had to deal with. But I definitely think that Oklahoma State, with Chuba Hubbard running the ball, he's probably one of the best, if not the best running back in the country right now. And, I think that Spencer Sanders is going to be able to get the ball downfield for Oklahoma State as well. Tylan Wallace is a great receiver. I like Oklahoma State's defense a lot better than I like Texas. We're only being asked to lay 3.5 here. I like Oklahoma State laying 3.5 at home against Texas.
All right, Chris says let's go ahead and take that 3.5. I may be going heads with you. I'm looking at the Texas side 3.5. The only issue I have with Oklahoma State is their scoring. If you back out that Kansas game, Oklahoma State is only averaging 22 points a game. I know Sanders was out. That might play into it, but still, I got to see a little bit more offense. But you think they can produce this year against the Longhorns?
Well, yeah, I mean, to your point, Tony, I was one of the many people that was disappointed with Oklahoma State opening week when they only put up 16 points against Tulsa. But, I definitely think that Texas defense is an issue. You're giving up 45 points to Oklahoma in a game that you probably need to buckle down for. And I know, we expect points from the Big 12. That's a given. But to give up, even 56 to a Texas Tech team that by all intents and purposes is not a great Texas Tech offense like we've seen in the past. Alan Bowman is not, was not the best quarterback in the country, but he was still a guy that threw for, I think, almost over 400 or 500 yards in that game, like a typical Texas Tech offense would. So I definitely think that there's a lot to be desired with the Longhorn defense, and that's kind of why I'm leaning towards Oklahoma State laying the points. I just think Spencer Sanders and Chuba Hubbard are going to have a big day, and that with the way that Texas runs the ball and the way that Tom Herman runs that offense, they leave themselves open to a lot of third down attempts, and I just don't know if they're going to be able to convert them with that Oklahoma State defense.
All right, that was our look here at Texas and Oklahoma State. This one is going to be played on Saturday. All right, continue on here on the drive-through. Still more picks coming up, more college football, some NFL. We'll get into the Europa League coverage as well. But let's welcome into our show right now Elinos. So you'll find him over at Pig Dogs Premium. El, well, we thought we were going to welcome El. I don't know where El is. El, you're back. You get back. You're on to celebrating the Dodger that victory, huh?
Sorry, I was had to get up for a second. What's up?
Yeah, I know you have a second studio over there, so I understand sometimes you have to, there something else calls over there, and I know it sits.
It was catering on the movie set.
Yeah, a little catering on the movie set. All right, our man Elinos is back here. Now, first off, why don't you recap the Dodgers World Series? You were behind them 100% as a fan, as a handicapper. I know you took a lot of heat from everybody early on with the Dodgers run line. The Dodgers weren't covering the run line early in the season, but as Rod brought up, and I researched it, the Dodgers were greater in the first 2 weeks. I guess that Giants series are terrible. They didn't look good, but they started covering run lines after that. They got hot, and of course it carried into the World Series. They even covered the run line in the clincher here as Urias came through, and you're a Urias guy, so you saw something in this guy that we couldn't see the whole season.
Yeah, I think you guys were just looking for bad stuff. No, he wasn't perfect early on, that's for sure. But, he definitely wasn't that bad either. And he did come through again. It feels great. Obviously, been waiting for this a long time. I think it's been I read it was 32 years since the last time the Lakers and the Dodgers both won. So hope if it happens 32 years from now again, I'll take that. But I hope to get some individual championships in between then too. I don't want to wait another 32 years for the Dodgers to win again. That's for sure. But yeah, it was a great series. The Rays definitely kept it competitive. Definitely looked like they had a great chance with Snell there. Yeah, definitely a lot of controversy. Sorry. About that decision to pull him, but again, if he would have stayed in and given up those runs, then everyone would have been bashing Cash for keeping him in. So it's a tough decision. I don't agree with it necessarily the way he was pitching. He was pitching way too well. He still had a lot of pitches left in him. I think he was only at 73 pitches, if I'm not mistaken. And he was going to face the top of the lineup, which he had struck out a few times already. So the timing, I think, was just wrong. I don't think it was necessarily just too early. I think it was just a bad time. Sure, maybe you think Mookie Betts, you like his chances to get a hit the third time around, but again, his decision was obviously not the right one. So, we'll take it, obviously, as Dodgers fans, but definitely a good game and good series. So I tip my hat to the Rays, but congratulations to the Dodgers, too, and hope for another good season next year.
Chris, what do you got?
Yeah, and I mean, just to go to Al's point, I mean, when Blake Snell was pulled, he was going to the top of the order, and against the top of the order in that game, they were 0 for 6 with 6 strikeouts. So, again, that just goes to tell you that maybe Kevin Cash is going to get a little bit of an earful if that wasn't the order from the higher ups, that maybe you pulled him a little bit too early. But then again, I keep saying it, hindsight's 20/20. If Blake Snell went to the top of the order and he gave up 3 hits, and then they went down 2-1 with him still in the game, we'd be saying, oh, why didn't they pull him sooner? Why did they let him get back to the top of the order once again? So again, you're never really going to make anybody happy, I feel.
No, taking Tampa Bay to the World Series, you're probably cemented as a manager for the next 5 years anyway.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So there's no job insecurity at all for him. So I think he'll be fine. All right, we got Elinos here taking his victory lap. And I think you've just finished that victory lap because now you're on the grill. So you got a pick here from college football from Elinos here on the drive-thru. Al, you're going to be looking at an SEC game between LSU and Auburn. This one opened at a pick'em total 63. This moved up here to 3.5 in some places, but still 3 LSU. We see the total 65.5 to 67. So this number has gone up since the open. If you can't blame it, because LSU has been putting points up. How do you see this one, Al?
Yeah, as you said, Burrow's gone, but I mean this offense still very potent. They've still been putting up some big numbers, and also their defense has been giving up a whole lot of points. So that's an issue they have to deal with. And Auburn, they've been scoring some, not as much as LSU, but I think it's going to be up to their offense to keep them in this game. LSU's 3-1 to the over. While Auburn's just gone over in one of their 5 games. But again, I think their offense will have to step up, take advantage of LSU's defensive struggles if they want to keep this game competitive. So, yeah, I see a lot of points being scored in this one, and I'm going to take this game to go over the total.
Over the total, when I'm seeing this total creep up, you got to keep an eye on that LSU quarterback situation. Maybe Brennan, he was possibly returning, but still even with the backup, I mean, they combined, they blew that total away last week, but combined for 75 points and 76 points with total was 55 against South Carolina. And LSU put up 52 here. One thing to note here, Chris, Auburn's defense isn't what it used to be. They're allowing 400 yards a game and 57% conversion rate on third down. So how do you see it?
Well, I'm with you, Tony. I mean, this is definitely not the same Auburn defense, not the same Auburn team that, typically reloads on defense every year the same way that, your Alabamas and your Georgias and your Clemsons do whenever guys go to the pros. I mean, this is still an Auburn team, still giving up 25 points a game that for a good chunk of last year was in the teens. So, I mean, this is definitely a step back for Auburn. And, LSU defensively is still, I don't want to say they're not a sieve, but they're definitely, they've also regressed quite a bit. They're giving up 30 points a game. I'm leaning towards LSU here just because I'm not a fan of the Auburn offense. Can they get it to 66? You got to rely on Auburn here, and I can't consistently trust Auburn for more than 28 points. So do I think LSU is going to get up to around 38 or 40? They potentially could, especially if you throw Finley in there. If you throw Miles Brennan in there, you're kind of hoping for the best at that point. I definitely think the over is a viable option here, just with the way that LSU was scoring last week with Finley under center. But again, it's going to be one of those things where you kind of have to watch and kind of see if you can get an ear to the ground as to who's going to be starting quarterback on the weekend.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And, of course, Al, you have to get some points out of Auburn. Of course, LSU's defense has not been good, allowing 344 passing yards and alarming 9.7 yards per pass attempt. Can he get that ball through the air? Can he get it downfield here against LSU?
Yeah, he hasn't been too sharp this year, and interception's been a problem for him. But as I mentioned in another over I've picked in my videos, interception's not the worst thing in the world for totals to go over. So especially if you do them, earlier on in your drive and don't get all the way to that third down, let the clock run out before you punt the ball and all that stuff. So I'll take those interceptions if that's what we need, and that just helps LSU's offense get going too. So, whether he gets going or throws those interceptions, I'll take either one. But probably a bit of both would be nice, too.
A bit of both would be nice for El Ninos. The over here, LSU and Auburn. All right, El, as we're approaching the top of the hour, why don't you let everybody know what you have going on over at Pig Dogs Premium?
Got my Thursday night football pick ready to go if you want to check that one out. And, got the Champions League came through today. Going to look at some Europa League games today. Maybe one of them will make the premium side again. Nothing yet there. But, a couple of decent college games to look at tomorrow as well. So we'll look at those two, and at least one of them should make it to the premium side.
All right, check out El Ninos having the top of the leaderboards over at Pig Dogs Premium. NFL doing fantastic work, so check them out over at Pig Dogs Premium. All right, El Ninos. You're going to stick around here as we're going into our Europa coverage. Before we get to Europa College, we'll let Chris, why don't you go ahead and recap what happened in Champions League today?
For the early games, you had Chelsea and PSG.
Chelsea won.
Istanbul, respectively. And, I think the shocking result for me today, I thought definitely that Leipzig was going to have a bit of a game. They were going to be able to compete with United, and it's only 1-0 at the half, and United ended up winning that game 5-0. So definitely United's the team to watch at, especially after smacking PSG around in match day one. But Barcelona came out, took care of Juventus. Short Ronaldo, but again, we're going to have to see. That's going to be the talking point the next time these two meet up. But Dortmund got the job done. We had a couple draws between Dinamo Kiev and Ferencvaros, and Club Brugge and Lazio. Called it on the show yesterday. Brugge was definitely a team to watch, and even with some COVID in that lineup, they were still able to scrap out a point against Lazio.
All right, that was Chris Ruffalo with the breakdown here for Champions League. Now we're looking at Europa League into action here for Thursday. We'll start here with Al. Europa League coverage here. Lille and Celtic going at it for Thursday. How do you see it?
It should be a pretty good matchup. Celtic still dealing with a couple injuries, but Lille's coming in this one in pretty good form. So this should be a pretty competitive game. But I like our chances here with a draw, and that's a 270. But if you don't like the draw, I would take the point with Celtic and hope for the best there. I think you'll either cash on the draw or at worst they'll lose 1-0 because I don't see Lille completely blowing them out either. So getting a point with Celtic's pretty nice, but I think we got a pretty good shot at the draw here at plus 270 as well.
Chris, how do you see this one? It's Leger and, of course, Celtic.
Yeah, the thing with Celtic, though, is that they were blown out by AC Milan in the opening game of the group stage, and then followed that up by slipping up against Aberdeen domestically in the league. And that's not the kind of form that I necessarily want to see from Lille coming into this game. I'm trying to pull up the odds right now for the game, because I'm looking at, to tell you the truth, I'm looking at Lille on the money line. I think this is definitely a team that's.
They're about minus 154 on the money line, and coming into this one in great form, as he's about to mention.
Yeah, this is definitely a team that's going to challenge PSG for top spot in League One this season. I think this is definitely a team, definitely a French team to watch out for that's not named Paris Saint-Germain, and I think Celtic could be in a little bit of trouble here. I mean, minus 165 is a little bit juice, so I may lay the -1 at plus 110. I think this could be a 2-0 victory for Lille, especially at home.
All right, continue here with the Europa coverage for Thursday. All right, Al, Real Sociedad and Napoli.
Yeah, again, this one is Sociedad's got a lot of question marks. Some guys already not listed as out. Both teams coming in this one playing pretty well. Sociedad's on the 4-game win streak. Napoli struggled in their last game in this Europa League. They actually dropped it, and so they will be looking for the best result they can get here. But actually, again, I'm gonna go with the draw here, and this one's only at plus 200 because I guess I'm not the only one thinking draw. Side is kind of tough. Maybe I maybe still side with Real Sociedad on the pick 'em if I had to go with a side. But I actually really, really like the chances at the draw here at plus 205. I see it's not great odds for a draw, but I think it might happen.
Yeah, taking the draw angle. Chris, how do you see it, Napoli and Real Sociedad?
Al's right on this one. He's not the only one that sees it as a draw. I can see this one as a 1-1 tie as well. Sociedad, as well as being on a 4-game winning streak, they're also unbeaten in 13 of their last 15 at home. While Napoli's lost 2 of their last 4 on the road and lost 4 of their last 6. They've lost 2 of their last 4 overall and 4 of their last 6 on the road. But again, this is a Napoli team that can score goals in bunches, and we've seen it. They're all already ahead of the likes of Juventus, Inter, Atalanta in Serie A, and they've won all but one of their games domestically this season. So I definitely think that with all of these Europa League games that are kind of smashed in the middle of all the domestic games, it's going to be I think more of a cautious approach from Napoli as to go on the road, and I think they'd settle for a point in this one. So I'm going to take the draw as well.
2 on the draw for this one, Real Sociedad and Napoli. All right, Al, any other games from Europa? There's a big card here for Friday. Anything that catch your attention?
It's a huge card. Arsenal's minus 2,000 on the money line. I don't think Mitch would be a huge fan of me giving that one out. But no, I wouldn't touch that. I see a good one at Leicester. Maybe not the best Premier League club, but going up against Ajax, I think they got a pretty good chance. Decent value at minus 137. I would look at Leicester here on the money line. And if you see anything, Chris, while I go through these, Tottenham -1, laying a bit of juice there. Looks pretty good to me as well. Minus 124 though on the -1, so that is pretty juiced, but I think it's a pretty good play. And
that's where you're at?
Okay. Leverkusen on the money line might be a good look too. Minus 112 there.
All right, that's 3 from Al. Chris, any other games you're looking at?
I'm definitely looking at Leverkusen as well. Leicester City was on my radar. I still have to do a little bit of digging into that one, but that looks like to be another good money line, 3-way money line play. I'm also looking at Hoffenheim against Ghent at minus 125. And if anyone's looking for another draw, I think another good draw is going to be CFR Cluj and Young Boys, Switzerland. I think that's going to be a draw. I see it at plus 235. Young Boys, another one of these Europa League teams that always, is involved in these tight, low-scoring games. They're not really the kind to blow anybody out. And even at home, I think Cluj would settle for a point in this one. So I'm going to take a draw on that one.
All right, that's Chris Rivolo. Ali had something else?
Yeah, maybe PSV, but I think their whole team's out, so I'll be careful with that one.
Be careful with that
never
one.
Mind.
All right, that was our look at the Europa here for Thursday's action. All right, Al, as always, great having you on the show. You have yourself a great night, and you stick around when we do close at the pick review.
Will do.
All right, everybody, Elinos here on the drive-through. Guys, we're going to take you here to the top of the hour. Still a lot, got a pick coming up for you, and then we'll do the recap of the picks. I know a lot of you guys like that part of the show, so we're going to recap. Actually, that was your request, was to recap, and we recap them for you. But first, let's get my pick. All right, we're going to take a look here at Titans and Bengals, and my play for the show will be Tennessee and Cincinnati go over a total of 54.5 points. You know, Titans offense has been able to exploit the weaker defensive teams on their schedule. When you look at some of the numbers, 42 on the Bills and Texans. They put up 33 on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Tennessee's thorn has been on defense, where they're last in the league on third down, second to last in the red zone. We know Burrow with the Bengals, they like to air that ball out. They've scored 30 or greater against the weaker defenses they have faced. Burrow completing 66% of his passes, sits in the upper half of the league in passing, 261 yards a game. Cincinnati's defense, near the bottom of the league, 395 yards allowed per game. Titans 4 overs and a push to the total in their past 5. Bengals over in 3 of 4, and they're coming off gaining 468 yards in that Cleveland defense. Take Titans Bengals over total of 54.5 points. All right, Chris, how do you see this one with this Titans game against the Bengals?
Yeah, I may have to butt heads with you on this one, just because I'm wondering if we're still going to see another steady dose of Derrick Henry running the football and chewing up a lot of clock. And you know, this Titans defense, yes, it's given up a ton of yardage, but you know, I still think it's a nasty pass rush, especially with Jadeveon Clowney up front. And you know, Mitch and I talked about it in our videos as well. You know, Joe Burrow, and he sent me, the funny thing was, we were doing a video one day, and out of the blue, he just sends me a video of Joe Burrow getting absolutely rocked by someone from the Philadelphia Eagles. And then you kind of watch it as these pass rushers are coming in on a rookie quarterback as the number 1 overall pick, and he's getting absolutely blasted. And you kind of wonder how long he's going to be able to take this. And, you know, I think that if this pass rush keeps getting to him, the ball's not going to get out. You know, we're going to see a lot of sloppy football from the Bengals. And, you know, I'm starting to wonder, you know, if we're really going to be able to see, you know, Joe Burrow complete the season, or if they're going to be able to turn to a backup at least to get him some rest. But as far as this one goes, I'm starting to wonder if Joe Mixon's also going to be back as well. I haven't seen the injury report yet, but I'm leaning towards like a 30-17 or a 27-17 game, more towards the under. I just don't know if Cincinnati's going to be able to contribute to get to this total, but again, that's just where I am right now. That could change later on in the week, but for right now, I'm probably going to have to go on the other side.
All right, button heads here with Chris. I like the over, and Chris likes the under in this Titans and Bengals game. All right, now let's get down to our recap. Let's take a look at the show picks for today. All right, we started off, Al will join us again in this segment. Joe Duffy started us off with the Patriots plus 3.5 against the Bills. Rod Zawacki, Falcons, Panthers under 51.5. Chris was on Penn State plus the 12 against Ohio State. Al says LSU Auburn over 66. Yours truly, Titans Bengals over a total of 53.5. And we'll start here with Chris. Other than your pick, which one do you like the best? And my goodness, will it be the second question? We don't know. Let's see.
What's the second question?
Which of the plays do you hate the least?
Okay, we'll have to go with the second question. These ones are harsher. I mean, no, you know, I'm gonna lean towards probably Falcons Panthers. I think I might actually like that pick. I think it could be more toward, like I said, it might come right under the number, but I think it's going to be close to it.
Bad weather game here, looking under the total of 51.5. Maybe a lot of running plays, sloppy field, sloppy turf out there. All right, Al. Other than your pick, which one do you like the best?
I'm gonna agree with Rod on this one. Mostly for the fact that it's a primetime game. You know, you could think Falcons over. Panthers been playing a bit to the under though, and it just simply being a Thursday night game, I think will make me take the under as well.
Absolutely. And, of course, the question for the chat room, of all these plays, which one do you guys out there like the best? All right. I was joined here with Al and Chris. Al, is always great having you show. We're going to have Al on a new camera. He's upgrading the camera. We'll have it next week when he makes his show appearance. So, Al, we'll look for you next Monday on that brand new spanking camera. And you got your set going on over there. So, Al, have a great weekend.
I thought it was back on tomorrow, but if you guys don't want me, I'll take the day off.
You know what? I thought tomorrow was Friday. I got thrown off because Jeter wants to come on the show tomorrow, Thursday. That's what threw me off. That's right. We're gonna have Jeter on with the NASCAR because there's a truck series going on Friday, so Jeter's coming on. So yes, Al, we will see you. We will see you there tomorrow. Have a good night. All right,
Tony, tell them how you really feel.
That's right. That's right. I got to tell you how I really feel about him. All right, guys, that'll do it. Our show. That was a nice one, huh? All right, well, he'll have that new camera set up. We'll actually see it tomorrow. All right, and of course, Jeter will be by tomorrow with his NASCAR segment. So that was thinking Jeter on the show. There's got to be a Friday. No, it's a Thursday when he's going to be on this week. All right, guys, a reminder, tomorrow we're back on live at 6 p.m. Eastern time, doing all over again. Hey, but we'll have football to talk about. We'll have the Thursday night football game, Carolina, Atlanta. There'll be some college football games to talk about. We'll have some picks on those. So some action to bet on Thursday. We'll also have look forward to the games for the weekend as well. So be sure to tune in. And don't forget the morning show, 10:30 a.m. Eastern time with Mitch and company as they break down things. All right, guys, let's bring on the Pig Dogs crew for today. And, of course, lower left, we got the birdcage play here from our man Rod Zawacki. He's going MLS. There is action to go on tonight. So we got to get you some MLS action to bet tonight. We'll give a wave to everybody. Have a good night, and we will talk to you guys tomorrow.